everyone, it's Janice from La Rue de Fleurs. I'd like to welcome you back into the studio today. I am doing a little face-to-face right now just to kind of give you an update with where everything has been. Obviously, I am not super on schedule with the quilt-a-long for Shattered Squares, but part of that is what you see behind me, the shelving. We are remodeling our kitchen right now, and then I am also getting our old kitchen cupboards down here in my studio. So things have been a little bit of a hot mess over at our house, and obviously getting the things sorted and back in order needs to be my top priority. So I am working away on that kind of behind the scenes. But this week I am going to get caught up. My husband finally went back to work. He took a little time off to work on our big kitchen remodel project, and so I was forced to labor along with him. But now we are taking a little bit of a break. We have a little bit of a wait until our countertops can come, so that slows things down, as you might know. But anyway, I will be getting new lower cabinets as well. In the near future, because as you can see, I'm not very good with open shelving, and soon the cupboards above me will also have doors. I just need to find a day when it's not raining or cold out that I can paint them up and get them hung. So that's a little bit of an update of what's been going on and why I'm a little bit behind schedule. But I thank everyone that has been joining in and buying patterns. You can always do that at laruedefleurs.etsy.com, and I super appreciate all of your support. Okay, I am going to film a lot of this in real time just simply because, like I said, I have a lot of projects going on right now and I have very little time to edit videos and do all of that stuff, and I want to try to stay on schedule, which I already know I'm behind, but I'm going to do my best to catch up. So I have a bunch of my background triangles to all cut up. I still have a few more to do, but I'm going to work on that a little bit as I go. I have all of my center strips cut, and then of course we went through in our cutting video how to do all of that, as well as how to cut up your fabrics. You should roughly have pairs of things. So the pattern calls for putting pairs of things together, so that you want to make a 6.5 inch block with a 6 inch. You want to be able to make one that is these large green polka dots, if you chose to do that, with the large green, let's say I like these two together. So large green polka dot with the large green ferns. So I would make that as a pair. And then I need to go through my smaller size square and find the same thing, so that when I go to make my little bit of offset shattered squares, I have something that matches, that goes down on the opposite side of the strip, and you'll understand that a little bit more as we work through it. So I need to have the same amount of fabrics in the smaller cut blocks as I do in the larger cut blocks, so that you can make pairs, and then you'll end up with, we're going to sew them down. So you draw a diagonal line, and then we'll sew on either side 1/4 inch of that line. And then when you open them up, we'll cut that apart, and you'll open them up, and you'll have two sides that you can work with. And it will be the same for the slightly smaller one. Okay? So you want to just think about matching up your fabric so that you have the same pairs, right? So this would be a large dot and the fern, large fern. And then I have that in the different size cut blocks. And then I just go through, and you can match up whatever is pleasing to you. Just try to put, stuff that you like that goes together that's not super similar. That would be my advice. See, like I wouldn't put this little fern with the big fern. I don't think there's enough contrast. So I would do maybe the little fern with, I don't know, what do I like it with? My inclination would be either this or that. That I like. So I would do that together, little fern in the hash tag, the little hash mark pattern, and then I will go to my large squares and I will find the same thing. So I need that hash mark pattern and the ferns, spread out ferns, and I will make another group of those. Okay, so just think about pairing that up in that way. So you need the large pair, the small pair, and they match together, and then we'll prep them the rest of the way. Okay, so to prep your squares after you've made your matches, you want to draw a little diagonal line from corner to corner. I tend to do it on the whatever the lightest back is, so it's easier to see. And then we are going to stitch down either side 1/4 of an inch and cut them apart along that line so that we have those opening half square triangles. So I'm going to do that again with my larger grouping. Fairly straightforward. And you'll just work your way through until you have all of your matches created. And this is what makes the shattered block. It was based on sort of looking at ice, cracks in the ice. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and sew down either side and cut them open, and we'll come back and do the next step. Oh, sorry, you may want to put a pin in either side corner just to keep the pieces together too, if you want. And we will be trimming up a little bit, so if it's not 1,000%, like you didn't trim 1,000%, that really won't matter in the end. So here's just some additional clips of me working my way through pairing up the fabrics. If you're interested in that, I really just completely go with my gut on this, and I encourage you to do that too. Just start playing with your fabric. Have fun with it. Don't overthink it. Just go with what you think looks fun together. There really is no wrong answer. So just play and have fun. When it's all mixed together in the quilt, it's that individuality that really makes it shine. Once you've created all of your pairs, pinned them in place, and put your lines down the center, it's time to sew 1/4 inch down that center line to connect your pairs. And I like to chain piece as often as I can. That way I don't waste as much thread, and it keeps it easier to control them coming back as well. And you'll just go down one side, flip the entire chain, go down the other side, and you will be done faster than you know, lickety-split. Just going to remove the pins because I find it difficult to cut with little bumps in my way. And as far as matching up your prints is concerned, I say just go with your gut, the same as when you were choosing them. Everything was chosen to kind of coordinate together. Some things you'll naturally like grouped together more than others, but don't overthink it. It's just a quilt, and once you have every piece mixed in together in the entire composition, it's very rare that one distinct thing would stand out and make or break it for you. So I just vote for don't overthink it. Have fun. Just go with your gut and what looks right, and it will be beautiful because you probably chose beautiful, beautiful fabrics. So then I'm just going to line my ruler up 1/4 inch away from my seam and write down my pencil line and split these suckers open. So then you can see we have lovely half square triangles that we've created. And then we are going to be ready for the next step. So I'm just going to roll through all of these really quick and then consult my directions as to what exactly the next step is. And of course you can find the pattern for sale in my Etsy shop. It's Shattered Squares. I am trying to get the print ones up for sale, but definitely have the PDF download. You would have it, but you will be able to print it directly on demand at home. And also, not only is it fully written and illustrated and cutting guide and all of the things, There's also a coloring page if you really love to plan things out. So that's pretty fun. And I try to do that with my all of the patterns because I have to create those diagrams anyway. So I think that's really fun to include for people. And if you have little ones with you while you're sewing, they could color it in and you could see what they design and they might think that's really fun. I work with children a lot and they love to give their input on what you're working on. So give them a chance to do that. Print a couple of these pages and have them color it in and see what they come up with. Or if you are consulting or making a project for them in their room, maybe allow them to color a few things in and then talk about it and discuss what they like and don't like. And encourage them to think about design and be creative in a way that's really accessible to them. Maybe you are not going to have them color everything, pick every color or whatever, but you could ask them what they like and they could share it with you and you could teach them how to talk to you about it and express that. And then you could work with them to find fabrics that are sort of based off of the colors that they chose or their ideas. I guess that depends on their age level, how realistic that might be. But, I think that's a great way to get them involved if you are making a project particularly for them. Give them a little ownership over it. Anyway, you can find that in my Etsy shop, like I said, Rue de Fleur. Same there. You know the deal. Anyway, I'm going to check on my pattern after I cut all of these open. Okay, so good reason to stop and read your directions first. So I've cut that down the middle, but I also need to make an additional cut from corner to corner here. So I shouldn't have split them apart so quickly, but that's okay. I think I can line everybody back up and then I'm going to go this way. See, even I forget. And I wrote the pattern, so slow down. Take your time, read through things. It's good instructions for all of us. Quilting is meant to be a relaxing endeavor. So now we have these quarter pieces that are going to help make our shattered squares. That's what we need to do. So I need to do that several times over. And I'm going to keep all of these together because there is some matching at a point. And I would iron all of those nice and open to the dark side so they're nice and crisp. Ooh, I like that. I like how it kind of feels like it's bleeding together there, just because this one kind of is the same color and it washes through to the next one. Pretty. Okay. Anyway, I got distracted by the fabric. I'm going to line these back up and cut them and then go press, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to start making those pairs. So I have everybody pressed and I have them grouped together. And as you can see on the cover image here, you're going to have offsetting the prints, and then the smaller ones are on one side and the larger ones are on the other side. But you want the bottom colors or prints in this case to line up across the center of the internal stripe. So you can kind of see there what is going to happen. So I have pressed my center strips in half, and I am going to take my center strip, and I have my smaller sized shattered pieces, my half square triangles, and I have my larger pieces, and I'm going to just group them up. So there I have the larger and the smaller together with the bottoms of the darker print, and then the opposite, right? So the lighter and is now on the bottom. And I am going to start with my larger size, and I'm going to line up my central crease there with the central crease that I made in my centerpiece, my center strip. So there is my center strip, and I'm just going to line them up, and then I suggest pinning. And you know, if I'm pinning, you should probably pin, because I'm not much of a pinner. But there you go. You can see I've got my little, maybe you can see, I've got my center seam, and I'm lining it up with the ironed crease that I created. And then I'm going to put a pin in there, and then I'm going to sew that 1/4 inch down. And here is our big reveal, or halfway reveal. So we have this nice and lined up. Now what we need to do is finger press, or you could go over and actually press, but I'll just press at the end. And now we need to find the pair that goes on the other side of this with our small block. So I am digging through my stack off screen. I know you can't see it, but that's what I'm working on. And then I am going to use that other block here, as well as my crease mark, and line up. Let me adjust the camera, hang tight a second. And I'm going to line up so that the crease on this block lines up with my my seam on the other block, So just take your time and line those up. And then I'm going to pin that in place. You can kind of feel that with your fingers too, because your iron and your fabric folds will have created a crease, like an edge, a ledge that you should be able to feel with your fingertips. So just make sure that the ledge of your small block is lining up with the ledge of your large block on the bottom, your large triangle pair, and you should be all set. And then I just pin far enough back that I'm not going to catch it with my sewing machine, because I hate stopping to take pins out too. And then I'm going to repeat with all of the other ones that I made down here until I have a stack of the offset blocks, and then I'm going to sew those together a 1/4 inch down from this seam, and then you can see how quickly these come together. It's kind of fun. And then we'll put the pieces around the outside, so we're nearly finished. And then when we take the pin out, now it's time for our big reveal. Ta-da! We have our shattered square. It lines up really nicely at the center. And we have, let's look at another one. This one I like. These are so fun. Ta-da! Ooh! And let's see, what's the other one that we did? Oh, with the ferns. I love this fern print. Ta-da! Ooh! Okay, so now it's time to put the little corners on it and finish these blocks. We're so close to being done. I'm really happy with my background fabric too. I think that is doing what I hoped. Nice and complementary and very soft and subtle, yet with a texture that I think is working really nicely with my other choices and offsetting them. I also think it's going to look great in the room with some of the wood tones and the like tan couch that we're gonna put this on. Beautiful. I love when it comes together like that. Okay, so next step is to check the directions again and make sure that I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to add the little squares around the side. Okay, part 2 is putting the background on. So I read through my directions, and again, you need to press to create a grid for yourself to make lines to line up with. So I've pressed my block so that I have a crease that runs through the center there and then through the other way. So I have a grid, you know, it's 4 different quadrants, and that is what I'm going to line my exterior triangles up against, okay? So you can see the creases there. And then I have also creased my background triangles, and you need 4 for each block. That's why we had to cut so many of them. And then if you can get them apart, you line up with the creases, and then you'll match up where they're creased with your iron. So whatever the center is, that's what we're working off of. So I'm just going to line it up with the fold that I created with my iron on my central feature block, and then also the crease that was created by my iron for the middle of my triangles. That's obviously right sides together. I know it's a little hard to tell on this, but that's the right side. And then I'm going to put a little pin in it. And I don't know where my pins are right now, but I will put a pin in it, and then I will also line up and do the opposite side at the same time. And then I will do all 3 of the different kinds of blocks that I put together so you can see what they look like in this part of the video. And then I am going to just go sit and mindlessly sew for a little while. I need a little bit of that after all of the projects. I'm so excited to sit and just mindlessly sew for a little while. So I'm going to do that, and then I will come back at the end and show you a nice sampling of everything that I did and when I get them all trimmed up. And of course, all of those instructions are in the fabulously written directions. You just need to read them. Or I need to remind myself of that sometimes too. So I'm going to pin that, place my other one on this side, pin that one, and then once I've done those, I'll open it up and I will pin on the opposite sides the other pieces as well. And then at the end, you trim everything the whole way around. So I don't worry about trimming the little tails at this point. You can if that is something that bothers you, but you're going to have overlap here. These little corners, I'll just show. The little corners of your background, I'm trying to line that up, will overlap at the end when you sew those 1/4 inches. So you will just end up trimming all of that off at the end. So I don't like to do more steps than are necessary. So I just trim everything at the end. And then if I feel like it's too bulky, I would peel a little bit more back and cut it away. But that's just like, sometimes I just wait and see how I feel about it, if it catches a lot in the seam or not. And then that way if stuff wiggles and wobbles, your trimming will catch that, and you don't need to worry about everything being super perfect. So that's the way I roll, but you do you. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and pop you overhead, and you can watch me sew these couple of blocks, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so here they are. I still need to do the trimming, and let's see, what do they finish up at? I think it's 8.5 about. Yep, it's going to be about 8.5. So that's really nice, and I'm really loving them, how they're turning out. I think it's going to be a really nice, soft, serene blanket for the media room, and I think my kids will like it, although, I mean, you know, who knows? They are teenagers. What my favorite thing about this block is that you could use up little half square triangles from other projects, and you could go completely scrappy with this if you wanted to. I really like how the different sizes offset the end of the central strip. I just think that's a little bit of a different touch than some other things that you see where everything is always the same size, so it's perfectly symmetrical. I think it's kind of fun to play a little bit with proportion and off-centering things, and gives it a little bit of a different interest, in my opinion. It would probably work just fine if you used all the same size squares or half square triangles. If you had a bunch of those left over from a project, I would go ahead and use them up. And that's kind of what I did really to make the first pattern. The way that I came up with the idea was I just had a bunch of half square triangles left over from making some baby quilts, and I just wanted to use them up. So I put them together in a different combination, and I came up with this pattern, and then I wrote it up, and that was several years ago. So have fun and enjoy playing around. I will come back at the end with some nice trimmed and pretty blocks so we can do a review of everything before we jump into assembling the quilt. But I just want to really quickly, hold on a second. Here's the real state of my room though, okay? There's old kitchen cupboards that need to be installed, all kinds of craft supplies that are dismantled from everywhere, things that I need to get listed in my shop, all kinds of stuff everywhere. Most of my house looks like this. So please bear with me if it takes a little while to get back to all the pretties, but we're getting there. And then in April, I kind of am going to change up my plan. I was going to do a bunch of zero waste things again, and I may still try to do a few of those, but I really need to slow down and start preparing. I have several summer camps coming up this summer, so I am going to need to start prepping for that kind of thing, and I'll take you along for as much of that journey as I can. I think you might find that interesting. And I want to do some slow stitching. I was really inspired by that Mystical Stitches embroidery book, and I really want to get into doing a few things that I can carry with me throughout the summer. And just pick up and put down, and not have to be inside in the basement sewing all the time. So stay tuned for that, and I will catch you at the end here. And thank you so much for buying Shattered Squares. If you bought a pattern and supporting my channel, liking and subscribing, and do all the things that let me know that you're out there and that you're enjoying the content. Thank you very much, and happy stitching. Okay, I did not get the backing on all of these before I wanted to go ahead and put the video out, but you can see here some of the other combinations that I grouped together into my Shattered Square central elements. And then all I need to do is go around the outside to finish them up. And in next time's video, that will be part 4 of our series. We will have all of the backings on here. They're going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to get the quilt made. Thanks again for joining me. Be sure to subscribe for the next video, and have a great day.